I remember many years ago when Judge Bork was evaluated by a committee of lawyers, and roughly 1/3 of the Bar Association committee found that he was unqualified to serve after he taught for 15 years at arguably the nation's best law school and served for roughly a decade on the nation's second most important court, the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. So I hope that when we talk about merit selection, I hope it's confined to politically accountable individuals rather than some independent, non-elected group of people that don't have, that haven't been deeded authority by our procedure of elections and so forth.
Can't get over it. Any day.
I guess I would just close by saying I don't know that there's much of a worry about independent expenditures from one perspective, which is, Judge Baker suggested that we have to know who's spending this money in order to make what's called a Caperton motion. About 10 years ago, there was a judge who ran for office, and about half the money that was spent in that election was spent by a third party, and the Supreme Court found this so objectionable that they decided these were such extreme circumstances that that judge should have known that he needed to recuse. But what the decision says is that those are such extreme circumstances that it really doesn't or shouldn't apply to your typical election. It shouldn't have anything to do, presumably, with a small donation. When you get to the point that half the money being spent in the election on independent expenditures and contributions is from one person, the judge ought to know that it's time to recuse. In such a case, I don't think that transparency is especially important, because with that kind of money being spent, it ought to be pretty easy to track down who spent that money. So it ought to be pretty easy for either one of the councils or anybody to go make a Caperton motion and bring that to the attention of the judges. I do think that some of the things that we've been talking about, some of these independent expenditures, have value. I think it's somewhat dangerous to talk about how political advertisements are a low form of communication, or that people really shouldn't have the right to put them up. I do think that it's dangerous to start talking about how we don't need to respect people's private choices and people's private actions. And with that, I will close.
All right.